It just shows that once sin enters into a situation, that it just seem to be, it's like a plague. It seems to spread. And so we'll start with the scripture reading. And Adam knew Eve, his wife, and she conceived and bare Cain, and said, I have gotten a man from the Lord. And she again bare his brother Abel. And Abel was a keeper of sheep, but Cain was a tiller of the ground. And in the process of time it came to pass that Cain brought the fruit of the ground an offering unto the Lord. And Abel, he also brought of the firstlings of his flock, and of the fat thereof. And the Lord had respect unto Abel and to his offering. But unto Cain and to his offering he had not respect. And Cain was very wroth, and his countenance fell. And the Lord said unto Cain, Why art thou worthy, and why is thy countenance fallen? If thou doest well, shalt thou not be accepted? And if thou doest not well, sin lieth at the door, and unto thee shall be his desire, and thou shalt rule over him. And Cain talked with Abel, his brother, and it came to pass that when they were in the field, that Cain rose up against Abel, his brother, and slew him. And the Lord said unto Cain, Where is Abel thy brother? And he said, I know not. Am I my brother's keeper? And he said, What hast thou done? The voice of thy brother's blood crieth unto me from the earth, or from the ground. And now art thou cursed from the earth, which hath opened her mouth to receive thy brother's blood from thy hand. When thou tillest the ground, it shall not henceforth yield unto thee her strength. A fugitive and a vagabond shall thou be in the earth. And Cain said unto the Lord, My punishment is greater than I can bear. Behold, thou hast driven me out of this day from the face of the earth, and from thy face shall I be. And I shall be a fugitive and a vagabond in the earth. And it shall come to pass that everyone that findeth me shall slay me. And the Lord said unto him, Wherefore whosoever slayeth Cain, vengeance shall be taken unto him sevenfold. And the Lord set a mark upon Cain, lest any finding him should kill him. And Cain went out from the presence of the Lord, and dwelt in the land of Nod, on the east of Eden. So here we are to really the second stage of families, people in the Garden of Eden. We had Adam and Eve, and they ended up sinning. And now we've got a person where Cain slew his son Abel, his brother Abel, I should say. Now, there's a lot in this lesson. I don't think it had to do, the idea, a lot of people feel that because Abel brought the blood, or I should say a lamb, the firstborn and the best of his crop, and Cain brought fruit from the ground that he was tilling. But I think we need to realize it appears, doesn't say because no one really knows, that Cain did not bring the best of his fruit. And where Abel brought the first, or the newborn, or the lamb or goat, whatever he brought, and it was the best. It was the best of the flock. And one thing that we need to do, and remember, that God doesn't expect even us today to bring in the secondhand point of love to Him. We need to bring our best ability in whatever we do to the Lord. And I think that's the biggest thing that we can get out of this lesson is that each of us are different. Each of us have a different mindset and everything. But whatever we do, the key is doing the best you can for the Lord and making Him, well, you could use the word making Him proud that we are bringing the best that we can, regardless of how small it is or how little it is. If it's the best that we have, then it's well worth it, and He'll bless that. This lesson involves 2 sons, 2 offerings, and 2 responses. Now, the age of Cain and Abel, we don't know. It does say that when they were out, one was tilling the field, and the other one was minding the flocks. So we know that they had to be young men, I would assume, being in a young man's age. And we don't know what they have been taught to what to bring for an offering. We assume that their parents probably had taught them somewhere along the line that they owed a certain thing to the Lord, and in being a gratitude and thankful for what they had, it should be on the best of what they've got. Now, why Cain's offering was not appreciated by God, it really doesn't say. It really doesn't say. The only thing it says, it should be the best. Now, in Hebrews, the 11th chapter, it does have a thing here. Get to it just a second. The 11th chapter and the 4th verse, and it says, referring to Abel, by faith Abel offered unto God a more excitement sacrifice than Cain, by which he obtained a witness that he was righteous. God testified of his gift, and by the being dead yet he speaketh. And there's nothing that's said about Cain's offering. So we can only think, because he wasn't working with the sheep or cattle or anything. He was tilling the field and doing the best he could with that. Now, what was he doing with the product from the field? We don't know. We don't know how many people were on the earth at this time that was he working for them as well. But he didn't take, it appears that he did not take the best of his crop, because it does have in different instances in the Bible where grain is an offering and was accepted by the Lord. Now, it's just a case of we need to, whatever we do, we need to do to our best ability to bring stuff to the Lord. Now, the name Cain, the word name Cain in Hebrew sounds much more like acquire or to get, where the name Abel is from the word that means empty or vanity, referring to something that is like a vapor or a breath. In naming Cain, Eve recognized that the new life came from God, and in naming Abel, she recognized that the human life on earth is only a brief compared to the existence of God, and that time is eternal. Now, the two boys grew, and they chose two different occupations, as we've been hearing. Abel became a shepherd, probably caring for both sheep and goats. And Cain became a farmer, working with the soil. Both of these were commendable occupations needed for the survival of the people. So it wasn't because one was supposed to be doing all the herding or anything. These were occupations that needed to be done, and they were doing it. Now, the two offerings, both men seemed to have been thoroughly settled in their life's work and came to a point when they wanted to show gratitude to the Lord. Now, they chose their offerings from their line of work. And it's basically the same as us. So, it's a monetary thing for us, basically. I know a farmer, I knew him, he's deceased, and he had a lot of milking cows, but every 10th cow that had a calf, that calf was donated. He would raise it, slaughter it, and donate the meat to people in the church that needed it. I mean, he just felt that that was what he could do with 10% of that. And the Lord blessed him really very much for that. Cain offering came from what probably by working hard the soil enabled from his flocks. Abel is specifically said to have brought from the firstborn of his flocks. And so now these aren't pieces of animals that have a deformity or something. They're not quite as good as another one. These were the firstborn, and these were the perfect ones. These were the ones that would stand out among the people, amongst the crowd. So that's what he did. It's the beginning of the best is what he had. There is no such corresponding words describing Cain's offering. It was intended a contrast. We get a clear indication Abel was more spiritually minded than Cain and understood that God deserved nothing but the best. Much as a mindset is a good reminder for us, God always deserves our best and not our leftovers. You know, a lot of people take, and years back I've done the same thing where I paid tithes on what I thought I should pay, and it might not have been on the whole thing, but it was what I had left over, and I can't say that was right, but I was smart enough to get out of that groove to the point where the Lord got the first, and you can just see these two men bringing their things to God. Now, remember, there has been nothing said about a temple. There's nothing been said about an altar. But yet, these two boys were walking on the earth doing their thing, and God came to them. So God was still walking the earth at this time. He was walking it just the way he met Adam and Eve in the garden. And he also, it says that the boys brought their offerings to him. And he could tell by receiving the best of the flock and everything, how Abel felt. When Cain brought his, he refused it or rejected it. And immediately conflict arose. Now, the only one that did anything was Cain. His attitude, yeah.
You mentioned Hebrew 11,
Mm-hmm.
is the faith chapter, and that here,
In verse 4.